Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Proper Bavarian and today is an exciting day because today we get to tell the developers of EU5 what we hate, what we love, what we like, what we dislike and what we feel utterly neutral about. Because this right here is the EU5 1.1 feedback survey. A survey that wants you to tell them what you like and dislike about the very current version of EU5, not the development process or any of that stuff. What about the current state of the game feels good to you, what feels bad to you, and what is exactly going on that either keeps you from coming back or keeps you coming back. We're going to take a look at this, I will walk you through it, and I obviously want you to kind of engage with my opinions as well if you disagree with any of them heavily, or if you think that any of my opinions are also yours, but nobody really brings them up all that much, let me know in the comments, but way more importantly, even outside of any of this, please fill out this survey yourself. What you have to understand about this survey, I know that they of course have metrics, they get telemetry data, right, where they basically get a lot of information, how many countries are played there. I assume they even get information about when do people quit, like what are things that they engaged with the last window or something and then they close the game and never return to that playthrough. Or maybe I'm in fantasy land there, maybe they don't get that info, but what I'm saying is they get a lot of information, but what they don't get is for people like, for example, me in this case. It doesn't happen often with grand strategy games, I want to be clear there, but it did happen for this one with me. When you stop playing the game, either completely or you dial down your numbers to like 3 hours a week, when it used to be so many more hours, what is the reason for this? They can't really tell, because they get information from people playing the game, not from the people that stopped or at least limited their playtime. This means it is incredibly important, if you had any problems with what happened in EU5, that you give them feedback right here. What is good, what is bad, where do you want it to go? If you don't do it right now, you cannot complain going forward. Man, this sounds like I'm talking about voting, you know that? No. What I mean here is, if you give them feedback, they will have an easier time looking at you, identifying you and saying, oh yeah, you know what? That's a point that we need to fix. If you don't do it, they won't even be aware of the point. So even if you stop watching the video right now, fill out the survey or I will beat you in your own home. Anyway, let's go into this. This is a very basic start. Give us a basic understanding of who you are as a player. Your answers will help us put your feedback in context. I have 500 plus hours, at least if we combine actually the pre-release access there. I think I did not play 500 plus post-release, like just post-release is what I mean. But I'm definitely, all this asks basically is, are you a heavy user or a light user of the game? And I'm a heavy user ultimately of any grand strategy game. And man, first we were sounding like voting and now we're sounding like drug addicts. It is a ride to be a GSG fan, isn't it? How would you describe your playstyle? For me, I think anybody that knows the channel, it's very obvious. I am always and will always be an advocate for roleplay and historical immersion focus, because that's what I like about these games. Now, I could also be an optimization or min-maxer, like theoretically, but I don't like doing it, so no, that's not me. I'm obviously not a casual or occasional player. I do play multiplayer, but not in the way that they probably understand multiplayer, where I'm like, hey, I'm playing this in a really competitive way. Don't care for that at all. And currently, honestly, there aren't really any mods. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think that there are any kind of game-changing mods, at least nothing too big when it comes to total conversions, like we have it now for Victoria 3, for CK3, for EU4, and so on. So, no, it's not that either. I'm roleplay and historical immersion focus, and I would guess most of you are as well, which is probably important, again, to get your voices into this survey right here. Because there are many people that aren't. There are a ton of people that are min-maxing, that are optimization focused, that just want to kind of riff through one world conquest and then do another. And you need some historical people if you want that to be heard as well. Tell us how you feel about EU5 in its current state. Okay, you need to do a palette cleanser here. Current state. Don't think of 1.0.10. I think that is the one that was like super aggressive and everything sucked, right? 1.0.10, if that is the correct one, that's a 1. Awful. I hated it. This was one of the worst patches and they left it in for so long. When I say worst patches, I mean for any of the games that I am actively playing, I think one of the worst patches. I hated it. The open beta, I think largely was a success. I really like that they did the open beta model. If you didn't see it, by the way, CK3 is also doing an open beta. We're going to cover that as well. I am in love with them doing that model. I didn't love everything about the open betas, and I think the way that basically the implementation and the feedback was handled was still a little bit muddy and a little bit unclear, but they're getting so much better. You have to give it to them. EU5 is getting better about this, and well, that brings us to 1.1.10. What do I think about the current version? Basically, it's clearly not a 1, because it is so much better in AI behavior alone compared to 1.0.10, if that even is. Was it 1. I need to Google. Oh my god, it was 1.0.10. So we literally went from the terrible 1.0.10 to 1.1.10, and that one is then good. The way that I see it is we are at a 3 here. For me, this is a firm 3. It is an okay game right now that I can jump into. I can play it every now and again. But, and you will see this in several of the answers that I will give for other questions as well, as like a base premise basically, many of the changes they made, even though they might be sensible, even though they might create a better baseline, and even though they were implemented in a decent fashion, did not actually enhance my gameplay feeling. I have struggled to kind of verbalize this for quite some time, and I think this might be something that the community carries in general, or maybe it's just me, but essentially, when I open EU5 1.0, so the actual launch version, compared to the current version, when it comes to the econ changes, for example, to the proximity changes, to the river changes, to vassal loyalty, obviously that's an older change, but still you get kind of where I'm coming from there, centralization, decentralization, even the changes where I am outright saying that makes sense, do not change how much I am enjoying the game. And this makes it so that I can't put this at a 4 or a 5. I can't be very satisfied because the patch, frankly, compared to the pre-1.0.10 patch, didn't really increase my replayability, my fun with the game. It's just, yeah, it's okay, but my issues are still there, they weren't really addressed, and all of this is a bit of a lateral move as far as I'm concerned. Lateral move, by the way, I only learned what that is because I used to watch Eli Manning in the New York Football Giants, and they did a lot of lateral moves because they were bad at the passing game at the time. And at the running game, and really at any game. But okay, so basically, it was a lateral move. It was not making any progress for me here. Compared to when you first started playing EU5, how has your satisfaction changed? Yeah, okay. Okay, I don't want to invalidate my survey, so I'm not going to count the pre-early access version of EU5. I enjoyed that one the most. I really did. I'm going to start with the release window here, so that I basically slot into what you would also be answering. I think it stayed around the same, because my biggest pain points are AI behavior, my biggest pain points are scaling, you know, where you all of a sudden are way ahead of anybody else and then it's all over. And simultaneously, I also really disliked the situations, the content, the IOs and all that stuff being broken, and none of that has been addressed. If we started pre-release, then I would say slightly decreased, but I'm going to say stayed around the same. The main problem that I have with the game, and this is what I am hearing from my friends as well, and maybe again we're just like a little island, a little bubble that is very isolated from other feedback, it just hasn't changed for us. All of the changes, even if we go, wow, that is cool, that's good, they don't change whether we are enjoying a multiplayer or a single player campaign. They have zero impact on any of this. All the proximity changes, all the econ changes becoming tighter, that's nice. But we are good players. We come out of the tight econ loop relatively quickly and then have the same issues as before. Complacency, what a garbage mechanic. Excuse my French, but what a trash mechanic. Should be ripped out as far as I'm concerned. Serves no purpose whatsoever. But you never hit it. So it doesn't impact us either. Neither the good changes nor the bad changes have impacted my personal gameplay experience. Which is a major issue. For me, that basically means that everything has been just lateral moves. Much like Eli Manning and OBJ used to do it as well. And now here we come to something pretty juicy. How would you rate the following areas of the game in its current state? Economy and trade systems. This is a little bit difficult. I think what they've done there is good. I would still declare it as a 3. I already pre-marked this by accident and I can't undo it. That's fine. We are leaning towards a 4 here for me. I think we're on a good way. I think things are fun. I think even when things only work for the player, so the player is playing a much more active game than the AI, I like this kind of factorial style building when it comes to, oh, okay, what do I do here? What's my supply chain? Where am I coming from? What's my market? How do I destroy my enemy? And so on and so forth. On an economic level, I think that is fun. Nonetheless, we're looking at something where you can very easily outscale the AI. We're looking at something where new players in particular, of course, now struggle so much more than ever before. I think that there are changes that should be made, but fundamentally, this is a solid system. What I mean here is, this is okay. I personally can see some increases in what I can do about economy and trade and how I can change things, and I would like to see some markers that would bring this up to 4 and 5, like specialized trade routes, like some more granularity in how you can handle market access, and how all of this stuffs work, including, of course, the trade for India. You know, how do you do a long trade route? It's currently not really doable. How do you the triangle trade? Now, you can do this, but the AI can't do it at all. It doesn't have any perception of how to facilitate this, and that, for example, it needs slaves in its plantations in the New World. It doesn't do any of this, which means it's basically completely bunk. It simply does not work unless the player gets involved. However, that's kind of like a top of all of this. These things are relatively late in the game. 200-300 years is when they become relevant, when they go in there. I like the initial economic transition and so on and so forth. It's okay. AI behavior and historical plausibility is a 1. It is absolutely horrendous. Is it as bad as 1.0.10, where everybody and their mother would just declare constant wars, and then there would be constant wars by related to factions, or not factions, to Coalitions, that's the word, there you go. There's too many words in grand strategy games for similar things that are not at all similar. I personally think that the current system is terrible. I've talked about this at length in the forum. Nobody cared about it. Let me just be clear about this. The post did not go very far. We are looking at a system that is antiquated, that works poorly, and that is deeply, deeply unattractive because the AI, forgive my French, is incredibly stupid, okay? What I mean to express here in particular is not just like historical plausibility. I hate the framing of this, basically, even though I know that they don't intend it this way, but in the community discourse, when people say historical plausibility, they're like, oh, you just want to open up a history book. That's not what I'm looking for. What I am saying is that the current conquest desire of the AI, for example, is so primitive that it can only become complete nonsense when it expands, when it does things. What we have with AI behavior as well is just a completely lackluster diplomatic system that isn't deep, there's no AI attitude, there's no strategic desires that are exposed to the player. It's literally just an extremely flimsy and nonsense conquest desire system. This is currently, in the current iteration, one of the worst AI behavior sets in any common Paradox game. This is a fact. Again, please look at the post that I made on the forums. It's true, I'm sorry, but what they did there is not good. They need to change so much about it. It is one of the highest priorities as far as I'm concerned. You cannot play a single game here and have meaningful and kind of dedicated and committed AI activity. They don't see other lands this way. They don't see other nations this way because, again, there isn't even AI attitude, a feature that EU4 had. This is terrible. One of the, if not the, most pressing issue in the game as it stands. UI clarity and ease of use is a 2. I think they still have a lot to improve, and I know that they're already improving a little bit of stuff as well with the Byzantine DLC that is, of course, coming. I think it is Q2, right? Still, there's a lot of work to be done, but I don't take this. Like, basically, if I could, and they don't do this in this survey, in other surveys, you can do this basically. If I could say, this is a 1, and this 1 is to be interpreted as the most important issue for me, I would like to do it right here, we can do it down there, but I would, listen, this 1 is not the same one as if I gave UI a 1. UI for me is just a 2, there's a lot of work to be done, and I think for new players it is currently dire, but for me, it's fine. I can navigate it all, I can make it happen. Content depth and nation flavor, DHEs and situations, it's a 1. It's a 1 for me. DHEs belong in the trash can of history. Okay, when you have a mission tree, and there is going to be a video coming on this, even though I don't like mission trees, it is all very apparent what I need to do to achieve and to lead and to acquire certain content. With DHE, you do not have this. I know that there is now a mod where that basically lists all the DHEs when they come and how to do it and all that kind of stuff, but that is bonkers. DHEs as standalone events are trash. They are garbage. I will never be at peace with him. If you follow this, man, I'm getting agitated talking about DHEs. It's one of those things. I like EU5. I really, really do. But I get very passionate about it for sure because, like, DHEs is such a drag in a game that is this good. It's not technically about, like, oh, what did they choose as historical events? How is the event text written? It's not really at all about this. It's the content format of DHEs that is trash. And on top of this, situations in the current game still, in the majority, I would argue, do not work properly. I would say in the majority of situations, it still does not work properly. To this day, and it drives me crazy because this decides whether I am willing to test and play in Europe for the vast majority of my playthroughs, the HRE under an AI Emperor does not work. That is insane. The HRE is involved in so many situations. It is so vital. The Council of Trent does not properly work. The League War still does not properly work. So many issues. This is this is not good. It is not good, my friends, okay? Game performance and stability, I think it feels like it got slightly worse. I didn't actually do any proper tests on this version. To me, it feels like performance has degraded. Maybe I'm wrong there, though. This is vibes-based. No strong feelings, though. I'm on a really strong CPU. I know that many other people aren't, but for me personally, it doesn't annoy me too much, but it does annoy me. Now, which of the following are your biggest pain points right now? AI aggression, historical possibility. It's not the lack. See, it's not the lack of nation-specific flavor. It is what nation-specific flavor we have. I think it is bad, okay? Can I say other? Oh, I can't, okay. I'm gonna choose this. I also think rebel and revolt frequency and behavior is stupid. It's very annoying, I agree, but you can handle it. This just makes it so that when a new age starts and that age promises, hey, by the way, we're gonna have like this amazing reformation, the Council of Trent and all that stuff, and then none of that works in a way that is satisfying, it sucks. I wanna play. I'm not gonna keep playing for this, right? So while this is something like every couple of decades I need to destroy some nerds who literally have no power whatsoever, whatever, I can keep playing. This right here is what stops me from playing because I go, there's nothing worthwhile coming my way anyway. Why would I continue playing? So yeah, for me, it's these three. I'm curious. I wonder, maybe game performance, UI and UX, and like economic balance is something that is more common for other people. Yeah, the scaling is super annoying, but I personally can always handle this via like giving myself a bit of a handicap to a degree, right? I just consciously do not play optimal, but I know that that isn't an option for many people. They like playing the game basically optimally, which is perfectly fine. For me, it's easily these three, no doubt about it. Now, next up, share your experience with the latest major update 1.1 Rosbach. Have you played patch 1.1 Rosbach? Select all that is apply. Why did I say Rosbach, not Rosbach? Whatever. I've played it on the live branch, I've played the open beta, but I'm also technically eligible for I have taken a break from EU5 for now. I mostly have taken a break from EU5 for now, but this implies that I haven't played 1.1, which I have, so okay, whatever. How would you rate the following changes introduced in patch 1.1? I hate this question, because the idea here kind of is compared to 1.0.10. 1.0.10 was hell. Obviously, every change was good, that's fine. Okay. Still, there is value in this question, because like I said, here you're going to see that many of the changes for me personally were a bit of a wash. Economic rebalancing, for me this was a wash. I'm neutral on this. It did not change whether I enjoyed the game a lot more. Proximity didn't do much for me. Local governors are fun, don't get me wrong, I love local governors, and actually, they're down there. This right here, it doesn't do much, okay? AI behavior and aggression, it's better than 1.0.10, how could it not be? But it's still awful. Yeah. Army templates and levy rally points, yeah, great, good stuff. Local governors, I think they're good. I have some pet peeves with them, but fundamentally I think they're a good feature. HRE balance fixes, 0. Get them out of here. Negative impact, it's not even true. No, I still... This is driving me crazy. To a degree, I'm not even gonna lie, this is actually driving me crazy. I think the HRE currently it still sucks. Is it better than 1.0.10? Yeah, it is. I'm gonna say 1 because this topic drives me nuts. It still doesn't work correctly. The voting doesn't, like, it's all quasi-nonsense. The AI can't use it as an emperor to begin with. There's no proper defense of the emperor. 1. It's a 1. Okay, whatever. The HRE is not balanced, it is not fixed. Neither of those things is correct in any way whatsoever. 1.1.10 did not change it. Man, I gotta tell you, it's just, I haven't thought about these topics for such a long time. And now that I do think about them, coming back to EU5 right here, I'm like, man, that stuff is infuriating. I don't even know what to say about it, because ultimately, this happens. I want to be clear about something. You know what? There's a good point here before we come to content and flavor, and then me writing some type of long text right there. I am extremely optimistic for EU5. And I think that if you like EU5 on a baseline level, but you are concerned, you don't like, some minute details, or you had a bad experience with their patch frequency, I think you have plenty of reason to be optimistic as well. They're getting it under control. They are getting there. But I said this before the game launched. I will say this again. Before the game launched, I said I think they can fix the balancing stuff if they focus on it. And as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, they didn't really focus on it. They focused on a variety of other things, but not on the stuff that I actually in any way whatsoever cared about. And so my kind of read on this is that it will get better. It will just take time. It will probably take quite some time, but it will happen. And I'm very positive about this. I'm very optimistic about this. I don't see how it couldn't happen, because they're clearly showing that they are learning on an institutional level from their mistakes. So I'm very positive about this, but as I go through the errors, I'm like, oh my god, I wish this had already been fixed, okay? That's all I'm saying. They're getting there. Help us understand how you feel about the depth and variety of the gameplay experience. How much variety do you feel exists between playing different nations? I think it's a 3 or a 4, I think. I know that many people like to break down the game to saying, hey, in reality, it's actually all just the same. You sit down and you build the same buildings and you build the same resources. And this is true. You build the same RGOs. You just build up RGOs because they literally just make money. But I personally don't actually agree. I think the starting strategy, the first 100 years, are really fun, and they're really different between all these different nations on the globe, and that is an achievement in a game this early in its kind of post-release cycle. I'm going to say it's a 4. I'm going to be very fair on this. I think there is plenty of variety. There could be more. The systems, again, the economy, of course, could differ a lot more, and I don't think that recent economic changes, for myself anyway, changed that too much, but I do think you already have a lot of variety compared to like what other games have been doing in their 1.0 state. What would most improve your sense of nation uniqueness and flavor? Let me write something, okay? Okay, I've written this. I want to be clear here, I actually hate this text because it is way too... I can read that I am kind of tilted, okay? I don't like this. That's bad feedback. Please have better feedback for them. Let me read this to you. As far as nation's uniqueness and flavor are concerned, there are only two things that can truly change my experience. All the recent changes and attempted fixes have failed to achieve any increase in gameplay enjoyment for me. I told you that often enough in this video. A. DHEs need to be reformed completely. B. Situations, IOs, and disasters need to be vetted and maintained much more diligently. The DHE system was introduced to deliver flavor to a myriad of tags at game launch. However, the entire format is bad and follows a design strategy that will never be enjoyable for me. Any given DHE currently is difficult to spot without crawling files, most of the time completely inconsequential resource shuffling, 10 stability for 50 gold, etc., and adds nothing to my overall gameplay decisions. Even if DHEs were completely visible in-game, they would still be almost entirely uninteresting and, because of that, would not increase my enjoyment of the game at all. I think the entire content format needs to be reformed into something that feels more consequential, either by framing existing standalone DHEs into CK3-like story cycles, or in EU5 content compounds like disasters, situations, etc. All the standalone DHEs are very bad as far as I'm concerned. They may as well be a generic event that simply juggles resources. The other part is that, despite the team's best efforts, many situations and IOs are still broken or work very poorly. In a game that has foregone mission trees, a move that I personally like, situations and IOs are the primary content delivery systems, but they have been woefully neglected. Even the open beta's attempt to fix the HRE have left them largely broken. Personal unions are largely non-viable and often randomly break. Many situations in prime areas of the world are totally broken as well. This means that, regardless of what tag I play, I can never tell whether situation X will break this playthrough or whether I get lucky. There's nothing that makes me quit the game faster than playing through a poorly running playthrough only for the situation I was waiting for to be broken. It needs to be fixed. I'm gonna delete this. That's not... Don't do that, okay. Wait, there was one. This one we're gonna correct, and then we're off to the races. This is my opinion with these two. DHEs for me are completely non-recoverable, and situations, IOs, and disasters sadly are largely either uninteresting or broken, mostly, I think both. Let's move on to next. What's the next one? Let us know how well we're keeping you informed and engaged. How would you rate Paradox Tinto's communication and transparency with the community? They have gotten better. I will give them this. I think they have gotten so much better about this. They can still be better, but that's a 4. That's a 4. Keep it up. Proud of you. Very nice. What is your sources do you use for EU5 news and community discussion? I do read the forums every now and again. I don't really check the Discord. I don't really check the Reddit. I check YouTube and social media and my friends and family who are fervently telling me to tell you things. There you go. If you could add one feature or fix to EU5, what would it be? Please fix the HRE AI Emperor behavior. I am dying. Please. This is my last wish. Thank you. Okay, and that's it. There you go. We did it. Okay. Let me know what you put in these answers. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. And let me know what it's like to watch a tilted one proper variant. I'm not tilted often on camera. I think there are some instances. For me, most notably, the one was Voice of the Peoples by for Victoria 3. I was so tilted when I was reading my review. I hated that DLC. It's so much better now, but that one really set me off the cliff, okay? Listen, folks, I will leave you right here. We will talk more EU5, CK3 hopefully as well. There haven't been any news yet, and Victoria 3, of course, as you know, is going to keep being covered here on the channel. For now, I will leave you right here, and I will see you later, alligator.